Hi everyone, welcome to Tom's Manshed. Right, this is part 2 of a two-part video fitting brake pads to the front and rear of my Grinnall Scorpion kit car. Now, maybe you've watched part 1. Part 1 is of use because that's detailing the front brake pads, and they are from a Ford Sierra. They're Sierra Cosworth, I believe, discs and calipers. So if you've got a Sierra, an old Sierra, like I say, my car is 27 years old. I'll show you quick pictures of it here now. I showed you this in part 1 as well, but this is the vehicle we'll be fitting them to. So that's my Grinnall Scorpion, 27 years old, my pride and joy. Been to Europe twice, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, all over this country. It's been fantastic. So they're the front wheels. They're in part 1 where I fit the Ford Sierra brakes to that. That's the rear of the vehicle. As you can see, everything back from the middle is motorcycle based, BMW K1100 as per the exhaust. And there in more detail is the shaft drive. That's the bit we'll be working on fitting the new pads. So like I say, it does pertain to BMW bike owners as well. So that's the Scorpion. As you see, it's a 3-wheeler, 1 wheel at the back, 2-wheel at the front. The 2 wheels at the front, as I just said, are Sierra based. There's various Ford parts, the Ford Fiesta ball joints, the bespoke wishbones, and the Sierra Cosworth calipers and pads. Like I say, all that is in part 1. This is part 2, and I was going to do it all in one video, but I realised it was getting already like 50 minutes long, part 1. So I've made a separate part, this part 2, just for fitting the rear brake pads. Now, they are much, much easier. You don't need any special tools. For the front ones, you needed a piston rewind tool. I will put links to that, even though it's not used for the rear pads, but I'll put links because it's a 2-part video below. It is an Amazon affiliated link, so I get a small commission if you do click on it. It doesn't cost you any extra, but I'm just going to explain that. So, like I said, this is just about fitting the rear pads. Now, on my car, on the Scorpion, the rear pads you need to replace more often than the front. The front, even though I've had the car 17 years and it's 27 years old now, I've never replaced the front. And as you'll have seen in part 1, they didn't even need replacing. Once I took them out, they were like new. There was only a couple of millimetres wear in them. The rear ones I have done this will be about the 4th time I've done it. Now, again, as you'll see in this, once I get them out, they don't really need doing. I thought they might have done because it's been about three or 4 years since I've done them, but obviously I haven't done many miles in that time. So, yeah, again, these are like new. I've rewrapped them in the pack. The new ones came in, and I'm going to keep them in a drawer in the garage because, like I said, they can be used again. They're absolutely like new. So, as well as Grinnall Scorpion owners, this video could be of some use to the actual owners of the bike, the BMW K series bike, which the car uses all the running gear, the engine, the gearbox and the rear shaft drive. So if you've got a K1100, BMW K1100, or I think it's probably the same caliber on the K100 or whatever, this could be of some use. In fact, it's even easier. In the CLYMER manual for the bike, you don't even have to take the back wheel off on the bike. You do on my car, and you'll see that is the biggest problem. It's a really, really tight fit, and you'll see me struggling, and I've had to beep out a naughty word because I was getting fed up trying to get it on. I'll show you all that later. But you don't even have to take the rear wheel off on the bike. So you don't have to take the caliper off even. On the Scorpion, as you'll see, the way you fit these pads, you knock 2 pins out and then a centre pin, and they just pull out from the top. Absolute doddle, like I said, compared to the front ones. But on the Scorpion, when you're pushing them pins out, they do start hitting the rear spring. So you've got to take the caliper off as well. But it's dead easy. It's only 2 bolts, 2 17mm headed bolts, and it just comes out dead easy. You'll see it all coming up, but like I said, I just wanted to point out that if you've got the bike, You don't need to take the rear wheel off. You don't need to take the caliper off. So it'd take you probably like 20 minutes to change the pads, if that. So I'm going to start the video now with the bit I'd already recorded before I was deciding to do it into two parts. So this is from yesterday when I fitted them, and they just arrived. So next bit of this video, you see the pads will have just arrived, and I'll show you all the details on the pads close up to the camera, and then we'll get straight into the fitting of them. Okay, so the new shoes for the rear have just arrived. So I'll just quickly open these and show you. And it's looking like it might be starting to rain in a bit, which is unfortunate because I have no garage. Well, I've got a garage that I keep the Scorpion in, but there's no room to work, and I've got to, as you see, wheel it out into the yard. But so they're the new ones, which, like I said, they're 22 quid a pair. I'm up with it. Again, I'll show you where I got them from. So that's where I get them from. Motorworks Limited, great for BMW bike parts in Holmfirth in Yorkshire. And as you can see, they were showing 15 there, but there was postage. Yeah, it was about 22 quid, I think, nearly, with postage. I'll put it on the screen, including postage, what they are. Which seems, you know, quite expensive when you compare them with the size of the front pads, and you get 4 of them. Enough for 2 wheels. This is just for 1 wheel. So, but anyway, they are what they are. On the website, you could choose 2. These were EBC ones. There was also Ferodo ones. I just chose the EBC ones. I've had them before. You can also get what you call sintered brakes. Google it yourself. It comes up with various differences between sintered. I think that they can stand a higher temperature. They're more for track use and things, which I don't use. They're even more expensive. So, but yeah, that's the details on the actual disc itself. So I'm going to whiz them on the bike now and set up the camera and everything to film it again, and I'll show you the difference. Before I put these on, I'll hold the old ones up next to it. So let's get into that now. Okay, so pretty windy today, so hopefully you can hear this without too much wind noise. So I've loosened the nuts on the other side of the wheel, obviously a bit more awkward jacking the rear up than the front, because there's not much chassis to put your axle stand. So whiz it up and I'll speed this bit up. So I'm going to leave the jack under this time, and I've got the axle stand just under this bit in front of this paralever bar. I'm just going to lower it down onto the axle stand. Just there, so it's pretty well supported. It's going nowhere. It's on the jack and the axle stand. So we'll whiz the wheel off. It's pretty awkward, the back wheel on the Scorpion, because there's hardly any clearance between it and the mudguard. You've got to drop it down. So you can see we've got it pretty high up now, because it catches here on the mudguard and on the exhaust the other side, so there's not a lot of clearance. Okay, so that's the wheel off. And yes, it has just started raining. It's a tiny spitting. I'm going to give it a minute, see if it clears up. And I'll set the other camera up and film it from both angles. It's still slightly spitting, but we're going to have to risk it because it's forecast it's going to get worse. Yeah, great. 3rd of July. Eh? Right, okay, so first of all, you'll see it's a lot easier on this one. There's 2 pins here and there. I'll show you from the other side in a minute. You've got to knock them out, and again I'll show you from a close-up from above. But before we knock them out, or sort of like just after knocking out, we've got to take the caliper off these two here. In the CLYMER manual, it says you don't need to remove the caliper, but that, of course, is on a BMW bike, and this is different suspension, and these pins that we have to knock out here will catch on this coil if we don't take the caliper out. So there's these two bolts, one there and one there, 17mm they are. But before we take them out, we'll partially knock through these two pins. So I'll show you on the other side. So hopefully there's enough light to pick these up. But these two pins here, oh, first of all, sorry, forgot to say, you remove this cover from the top. It just clips on that cover. So you just insert a screwdriver and clip it off. It's just a plastic cover. And then we've got to knock these two pins out here. One there and one there. So get like a nail punch or something like that, and if you just tap it gently there and tap that one there, you can see now they've gone in the holes. And if we go back around the other side, I'll reposition the camera. You can see the pins coming out here, and there's one corresponding around there, and as you can see it's right up against the coil here, so we're going to have to take them two nuts out there. So we'll do that now, and two bolts. So this one down here, a bit more awkward because there's also the clip for this, I think it's a speed sensor or whatever. So undo all that and undo this. I've already loosened these off to try it before, so but they would be quite tight. I don't know the exact torque setting, but if I find it out I will put it on the screen here. I'll have a look in the CLYMER book, but just pretty tight, I would say. They've got spring washers on. So once we've got that off, both bolts out, you'll be able to slide the caliper off. So again, I'll just reposition that. So you can see here the pins we've partially knocked out. So you carry on knocking them fully through, or you just pull them out with a pair of pliers. You can almost do it with your hand. See, I'm just done that with my hand. Pull this one out, and this centre one, there's like a spring you can see goes over it. It's come out of place now with us knocking it, but just pull that out, place there, pull the spring out, it just hooks under that one and through this rear pin, and then pull the other pin out. Both them pins are exactly the same, and then your shoes will just fall out like that, along with the centre pin. So again, be careful of this cable as always. You may want to tie it to there with a tie wrap or whatever, but it's okay on that. So I'll just go inside now and I'll show you the old ones, the thickness compared to the new ones. Okay, you'll have to excuse the state of me working t-shirt and my mic on, because I'm literally halfway through putting them on, but I thought I'd nip back in now just to film this bit before we put the new ones on. And again, they don't really need doing. I had it in my mind that these were due for renewing because like I said, they do go more often than the front. Well, a heck of a lot more often. I've done it. It's about my 4th time. But as you can see, I'm not going to measure with the gauge again. But you can see, old one here, new one there. Almost the same. So I'm tempted to put these old ones back, but I'm not going to. I will keep them to use again when these new ones go totally flat. I think I'll put these old ones back on because there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Like I said, they're like new. So like I said, I don't know why I had it in my head that the rear ones need replacing, but never mind. I wouldn't have been doing this without swapping them. So yeah, you can see the difference there. They're just the same at the back. Again, any info on them, might want to freeze the frame. Made in the UK. The back of that one was obviously worn off, but looks pretty much the same. Right, let's get back into fitting these new ones before it starts absolutely raining heavily. Okay, so like I say, you could put a tyre wrap through here just to give you a bit of extra confidence if you drop it or whatever. And because my pads, as you've just seen, are pretty good, these pistons are fully out at the moment. But you need to push. If your pads are really low, these will have squeezed right in here. So you need to push them back up this way. Now, like I said, these are much smaller sort of pistons. There's no handbrake mechanism on these. So what I do, it says in the thing you can put the caliper up against the disc and just use the disc to press it in, or just get a pair of grips like this and gently, I've done the bottom one already, but if you look at the top you should see it just go up. It's a bit hard to show on camera, but just squeeze it in. I felt it move in then, so that should be fine. And it's now a matter of just putting the discs in how they were before. So just cut that there. And I can't show you in here, but it's like 2 rubber gasket things. Make sure they're located properly. And it's just, like I say, a matter of popping the pads in and popping them pins back in how they were that go through these 2 holes. So I'm going to coat these with a bit of copper slip. So again, clean these off if they need a bit of cleaning. And just a tiny bit of grease on them. We don't want it to get on the pads. And the small centre pin. And again on the back of the pads, we've got the copper slip. First of all, if you put this back pin in first, you can tap it in a bit of the way. It's then a matter of hooking that one round. Like I say, one end is a hook and one end is a hoop for the other pin. So hook that round ready. The centre pin just drops on the top of the pads like that, and the other pin goes through the hole. Can be a bit awkward, this. And it's a matter of knocking these pins through and having this clip stay in the centre. Can actually do that right the way through. You can see they've come through this edge here. Hopefully you can see that. And if we look there, you can see that clip isn't straight yet, so just slide that along to the middle bit there, and the middle bit there. You can see that is all straight now. Spring over the top, 2 pins in, and you could put a larger blade screwdriver in there just to shove them pads fully back. And then they should drop over the disc. Like I say, you may just have to put a screwdriver just between them to move them apart, and then it will slide over there. And it's just a matter of putting these 2 bolts back. Don't forget, on this one there is like a holder for this. Looks like an earth strap sort of thing, but so make sure that goes back and in the hole first. That's in now, that's tight. And the other bolt. Like I said, you could, if you wanted, put some thread lock on there, but it is a spring washer on it, so I don't think it needs any. Line this one up. The rain is getting worse now. Oh, I wish I had a garage I could work in. Okay, that's in there. That's tight on there. That's tight on there. And you may just want to check, I can't show you on camera because it's right down a little hole there. You may just want to check that everything is still centralised, which it is. It's then just a matter of popping that cover back on. It looks symmetrical, yes. I don't think there's a left and a right. Yeah, that's it. Definitely clipped on. So I'll just show you again. I've just put that cover back on, as you saw from the other side, but I'll clip it off because I didn't show it properly to begin with. So you just clip it off like that. And again, from this angle, I don't know whether this camera can pick them up, but these pins, they're sticking through quite a way. So that's where you'll start. And you put your punch on there and just tap them gently through. They come out dead easy, but there is about 1/4 of an inch sticks through once they're in place. And like I said, just check down there that the pin is in the centre of the pads and the spring is over the top. And then once they're tapped fully through, just put that on and click it in place and check it is on. That's just a cover, and that is the rear done. You can see it turns easy enough. So, just a matter of putting the wheel back on now. So, as you saw, very, very straightforward. Like I say, if you've got the bike, even easier. You'd have to take the wheel off or the caliper off. I mentioned in there the CLYMER manual. Like I said, there's no particular torque for that. Torque's only really important if you do like a head gasket or something, you're compressing something that shouldn't be compressed more than a certain level. just tighten that up as tight as it was when it came off, the caliper bolts. But yeah, if you have got a Scorpion or one of or a bike, the K series BMW bikes, I would highly recommend trying to get hold of a CLYMER manual. Don't know whether they still do it on this model. They're quite expensive, but absolute wealth of information. They're a really, really good source of knowledge. So I ended that bit with, we've now just got to put the wheel back on. And that's where, for me, the problem started. I have done it before when I've done the brakes in the past. Luckily, fingers crossed, I've never had a puncture on it. But if I had a puncture on it, it is a pig it's reasonably awkward to get it off the rear wheel, but it is a pig to get it back on. The reason being, it fits in the mudguard really tight. The mudguard comes sort of like down over the top bit of the tyre, and it's only sort of like, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch or whatever, quarter of an inch at maximum from the edge of the tyre, and the studs stick out quite a way from the disc, and it's a heavy wheel. So trying to do all that and squeeze it in next to the exhaust pipe and under the rim of the thing and not catch the studs, it is pretty hard. Like I said, once you're getting it out, you get it out at an angle, but you can never seem to get that angle back when you're putting it back, as you will see here. So there is a solution. I shall show you in a bit, but here's my first attempt at putting the wheel back. So this is probably one of the hardest bits, this, clearing the mudguard and the exhaust. So that was the start of the struggle getting the wheel on, and that last bit was sped up 500%, so you can tell how long it took. And like I say, it's trying to get it. If you just had a straightforward push onto the studs like a front wheel, with no problem at all, but it's because of that overhang of the mudguard. And like I say, if I broke down on the road in real life and I had to do a temporary repair, it would be a nightmare just on a normal scissor jack that I carry with it. So I decided this time I'm going to cut a chunk out of the side of the mudguard. You'll see in this next bit where I felt tipped it in line with, I've taken the whole tail cone off and the luggage carrying rack inside and put a line before I took the tail cone off. So you won't see any of this once the tail cone's on. In retrospect, I should have took a bit more out, because you'll see again in this, it's still a pig to get on. I do get it on, I couldn't at all with that. But if I'd have taken it out a bit sort of like higher here to clear the tyre is still sort of here. So next time I might take it right out to totally clear the tyre, so I've got easy way. I forgot to film me jigsawing that out. I just used a normal jigsaw, a little jigsaw I reviewed up here if you want to check that out. Great dual action jigsaw. But yeah, with that cut out, it was a lot easier, but it was still a little pig, as you'll see with me beeping out the naughty word in this next bit. Right, getting this wheel back has been an absolute pig. I've been struggling for ages, and it came out, but getting the right angle to get it in is a pig. So it catches on the rear mudguard as you're putting it back, and you can't get it up inside enough. So I've marked there, that's the bottom of the body. You see the tail cone is off at the moment. So I'm going to cut a chunk out with my jigsaw out of there, and hopefully that'll give it that bit more clearance. Because like I say, if I broke down on the road, I'd have this trouble again. So I've got the tail off it, and let's see if it fits any better. Okay, so it has been an absolute little pig. I've had to jigsaw that off the rear mudguard. It's only a bit, as you can see, it's only like half an inch, but it makes all the difference. Like I say, I've had this problem before, getting the back wheel on after doing the brakes, and it would be a nightmare by the roadside. So as you'll see now, still got to thrush around a bit. I even let all the hair out and it still wouldn't go on, but it does now. I've just tried it, so let's see if we can get it on. It'll prove me I'm a liar now. I've got the camera going. There, whoops. I don't believe this. I just tried it a minute ago and it went on. I'm going to lie down. Oh, for sakes! Holy flipping Lulia! Oh, what a pig. Okay, absolutely typical. All that messing about, taking the tail cone off, cutting a chunk out of the thing to get the wheel back on. It was drizzling all the time. It's now stopped as I'm pouring it away. Absolutely typical. I'm absolutely cheesed off. It's so flaming hard getting that wheel on. But anyway, it's on and it should be easier in the future now as well. So, just going to drop it off its jacks, tighten them wheel nuts up, put it back in the garage. I'll see you in the shed, dressed a bit better soon. So I'm just pumping the brake now, just to get that pad centralised, and then we'll push it in the garage. Yeah, so finally the wheel gets back on and I pushed it into the garage, and as you saw there, after that the sun came out. Yesterday evening, 5-6 o'clock, it was lovely blue skies. Absolutely typical, but there you go. So brand new pads all round now, even though in the end it didn't need it. But if I hadn't have done them, I wouldn't have done this video. So hopefully it has been of some use. Like I said, don't forget, use it in conjunction with part 1. If all you're changing is the rear pads, just use this, obviously. So, like I said, hope it has been of some use. If it has, it'd be fantastic if you could give me a thumbs up. If it hasn't, give me a thumbs down by all means. If you haven't already subscribed, it would be fantastic if you could. Just click the picture here of the shed, and once you've done that, click the bell icon below to be informed of any new uploads as soon as I do them. Like I mentioned in the first video, have a look at the reasons I bought this little top for that. I'm on my way to Lidl's now. It is the 4th of July. It is election day in the UK, 4th of July 2024. I'm going to go to Lidl's and then vote. I'm not telling you how I'm voting. Whoever I vote for, I will get some good and some bad comments. So, yeah, next reviews will be on the usual Lidl stuff. No doubt. Let's see what's in when I go shortly. And for the future, like I say, it's going to be mainly sort of like parkside tools and anything else that takes me fancy. So the little shed picture should have appeared by now. Click on that to subscribe. I'll see you for the next video. Thanks for watching this to the very, very end. Bye for now.